Welcome back to 50 for 50, this episode of the Cool Check-In. As you can see, if you're watching on video, the jersey that one Mike Joseph is wearing, we are recording this literally the day after the New York Knicks won the NBA championship.
NBA championship. We got the chip, baby. Didn't think it was going to happen in my lifetime.
It happened, but just 3 years before we were born.
Yes. Yeah.
So you got it.
We got it. I just wanted one.
You know, this is where you got to get greedy. In 2015, I got mine because the Warriors won, I think, in 75. So literally the year before
you were born, yeah. And then, they weren't the Golden State Warriors then, were they?
They were.
Okay. All right.
At that time, they were, I think.
Okay.
San Francisco Warriors, they were at some point. But anyway, you get it, and you're like, oh, man. And you get greedy.
I'm good,
you're
man.
Like, I want another one. Like, look, if Jalen Brunson stays healthy, and I would tell my man, like, chill out for like a month. Like, that dude played so hard during this entire series, and he played so many minutes. I'm like, man, let that man rest, because
give him a break.
You got to do it again next year.
That's right.
And now you got a little bit more of a bullseye. And
they're gonna come for you now.
That was fun watching the Game 5. Like, I kind of thought, I was like, okay, the way that this stuff usually works is you win it, or San Antonio wins it to get to Game 6, then the Knicks get to win at home. I mean, it's not usually how it works, but that's like kind of like the better story.
Right.
The Knicks were like, nah,
we don't want that.
We're gonna let y'all get your leads, but we know when it comes to the fourth quarter, you guys are gonna get butt cheeks are gonna get a little tight late in the game, and we got it.
And that's what I liked about that. Collected. Yeah, man. I mean, look, Wemby is a great player. Barring injury, there will be many, many more trips to the NBA Finals for him. The Spurs are a great organization. I love me some Coach Pop. So they're gonna get there. But for New York, for an entire lifetime of wanting to get a championship, suffering through 1994. I didn't think we had a chance in 99, but and to see this team, man, just so many gamers on this team, like that entire starting five, Alvarado, Jordan Clarkson, Mitch Robinson. Like,
I was like, Landry Shamit's out of here hitting corner three.
Landry Shamet. If there was a 6-man of the year award for the postseason, or a bench player of the year award, like Landry Shamet would get it. But yeah, I mean, it's such a good team, and shout out to Mike Brown, and Leon Rose, who kind of built this team. And you know what? My favorite moment from the whole thing was at the end when Jalen and Rick Brunson embraced. That was the thing that like made me tear up a little bit, because it's such a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, no, it's so cool.
Yeah,
I was rooting for the Knicks somewhat because of the history of the NBA and how, if you follow this stuff, that was one that we were waiting for. The entire league, the fan base was waiting for it. And also, I'm like, I don't want to see the Spurs on top again so quickly, man. Like, forget that. And so it's good. All right, we're not here to talk about.
We're not here to talk basketball. Garrett does plenty of that elsewhere.
Yeah, elsewhere. We're talking Brandy.
Yes.
Because Brandy came out with an autobiography, a memoir called Phases, and you read it. I got the audiobook version, so we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to talk about her discography as well. I have a couple of segments that will one of them is a redo, but we just did it for the first time. We'll do it again. And then I have a new one that I haven't told Mike about.
Oh, snap.
And then we'll have a second shorter episode with Brandy's top 5, because she's got enough albums for us to create a top 5 for it. So that'll be the next episode. Okay, so let's sit with the memoir here for a second. And You know what's interesting about this memoir? We talked about Arsenio Hall's memoir that
Mhm.
also came out recently. And the one thing about Arsenio is, he's many years older than us. So the rise of Arsenio, we like saw him kind of at his peak. And that was where we rocked with Arsenio.
Mm.
But we've been following Brandy like her entire career.
Yeah.
So this is like a thing where we know all of the highest parts of Brandy's career. Like we lived through it, and we lived through her albums. And after I would say that late '90s, early 2000s point, like she became just less and less relevant in the pop
Right.
music scene.
Right.
What surprised you the most when you read the memoir? Being that we just knew a lot of her story.
That's an interesting question, and I don't know that anything surprised me, particularly because of that reason, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been rocking with Brandy since day one, so the whole arc we've been a part of. It's not like Arsenio, where Arsenio is 20 years older than we are, and had like a whole career that was building up before we were even born or able to like understand pop culture.
Yeah.
When Brandy came out, when I Want to Be Down came out, we were 18. So we saw the whole kind of, we saw the rise and the fall, relative to there being a fall, but we have firsthand knowledge of all that stuff. So I can't say that anything super surprised me. It was a good read.
I would say the relationship with her and Whitney Houston, like I didn't know all of the bits and pieces of that. Like I knew that Whitney was her idol. I knew she
Right.
got to work with her in that Cinderella movie,
Hmm.
but I didn't know like the beginning of where she's like trying to meet Whitney, going to
Yeah, going
concerts,
to
and
concerts.
Ricky
Yeah.
Minor is the go-between.
Yeah.
And then she gets to call her on the phone and talk to her on the phone when she's just a little girl, and that kind of just makes her more amped up to do what she wants to do. And then she creates a relationship with Whitney all the way down to seeing Whitney pretty much at the end of her life,
Yeah. The day before she passed away.
which is also the same day as Brandy's birthday,
Birthday. Yeah.
and which is the signifying her album, her second I guess the
Second to most recent. Yeah.
second to most recent album. And so that was very interesting because that's not something I knew. The other thing I would say that was the most interesting that I didn't know was the Monica story, because in the public eye and in the media, they were pitted against each other so
Mm-hmm.
often. I just assumed that the beef was real, and they're just like, a lot of this is just made up, and some of it, because it is made up, like we don't know where it's coming from, so we're just assuming the worst of each other until
Right.
we kind of connect and have a conversation about it. And now if you see them now, it seems like they're like best friends because
Right.
they're doing stuff together constantly. But I also didn't know the whole story of the Monica situation. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, they were definitely pitching Brandy and Monica, and even at like when they first came out, they were pitching Brandy, Monica, and Aaliyah all against one
Yes.
another because they were all roughly the same age. They all came out at roughly the same time, doing very similar types of music, and the narrative in, I mean, not just the music industry, in any industry, is that you know women in the same industry can't get along. So they were very clearly pitted against one another. Actually, I remember there being a guest on my radio show back in the day when I was doing Radio Free Brooklyn, who, I don't know if he did Showtime at the Apollo with Brandy or something like that. And like, I'm gonna mess the story up, but like they were, well, I'm gonna actually backtrack a little bit. There was the Soul Train Awards that year
Mm-hmm.
where they showed like Brandy and Aaliyah nominated for the same award, and they cheered Brandy and they booed Aaliyah. But around the same time, there was Showtime at the Apollo, and I want to say that my man B Ski said that Brandy's folks actually were like boo Monica or boo Aaliyah or boo one of those other like girl artists. So I mean, I think they played into it a little bit, but also like they were kids.
Right,
So
right. And
yeah,
and when you're that young, maybe your communication skills aren't as good.
I mean they're not. There are plenty of people our age who have really poor communication skills. So
You mentioned the Aaliyah thing,
mm,
and in the book, Brandy says that Timbo told her that Aaliyah did not really want Timbaland working with other women because she liked that was her sound and it was competitive. And so after Aaliyah passes, Brandy reaches out to Timbo and they work together. And Timbo tells her like, yeah, like Aaliyah was she wanted me to keep that sound unique. And then Brandy has an experience with Rodney Jerkins later where she kind of has that same relationship, and then he becomes big and it starts working with other folks, and she kind of feels some way about it
yeah.
because she feels like they created something and then he used that to work with other people.
I mean, on one hand, that's kind of what every producer does. At the same time, I do think that working with Brandy is what blew Rodney Jerkins up to be this like big producer. And if you listen to "If You Had My Love" by J Lo, or you listen to "It's Not Right But It's Okay," like those songs are very clearly, I don't want to say ripoffs, but they're based on the sound that "The Boy Is Mine"
They're a
blew
byproduct
up.
of it.
Yeah, yeah. Like they sound very similar to one another. And I mean, particularly in the case of like J Lo, I'm pretty sure. I mean, and even with Whitney, and Whitney and Brandy were close, so there was no competition. But I'm sure that like Clive Davis and Tommy Mottola were like, we want the sound of this record. So I think Rodney Jerkins was probably asked to make songs that were similar to "The Boy Is Mine."
Brandy's young. She's got a young ear. She's got a brother who's comes off interestingly in the book. There's no Kim Kardashian stories.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I imagine a Ray J autobiography or memoir would read a lot different than Brandy's interpretation of Ray J, but I think she protected him in a lot of ways.
She 100% protected him. I was like, man, I appreciate when you have a sibling and y'all are bonded like that. Cause I mean, Ray J just strikes me as a horrible human being. And Brandy could have thrown him under the bus, but she didn't.
It sounds like they're still tight.
Yeah.
So, that's big sis, so she's probably constantly having to look out for him. But one of the things that you just mentioned, the J-Lo story, I think she said, and it may have been a different song, but I think she said he played her something and she was like, "Oh, this is dope." And he's like, "Oh, no, this isn't for you. I just wanted to get your opinion on
Right.
it."
Yeah.
Which is get it somebody else.
That's shitty. Like that's just a horrible way to do things.
My brain, as I was like going back through my Brandy story, I was like, who's the baby daddy again? It's not Rodney Jerkins, right? Like it's not, and it was his someone who worked with him who
yeah.
and they developed their relationship because of her relationship with Rodney Jerkins.
Right.
And she has her daughter, and I guess her daughter is maybe singing or starting to sing or something.
I think she's a singer. Yeah.
Have you heard any of her stuff?
No.
Because one of my favorite parts of the book is her daughter. I don't remember how to pronounce her daughter's name.
I think it's Sarai.
Sarai. Okay. So the daughter's still a little girl, and they're at like a family event. And I think Brandy's kind of feeling like her career is a little bit maybe in the rear view, or at least the public believes she's a little bit in the rear view. And so somebody puts on like a DVD of Brandy's performances. And now this is Brandy's story. The little girl did not know her mom was a giant pop star and was really angry to see this video because she was like, how come you never told me that this was you? Like what? And so I was kind of like, I'm not sure that that's a real story, but it was a nice moment because the way that Brandy told it was almost like like this secret is now in the open, and I can kind of be me, all of me around my daughter and not have to just protect her. But yeah, like there's some nice stories like that,
Yeah.
and there's also some negative stories.
There are.
The two main negative stories are around men in her life, and one of those men is Wanye from Boys to Men. They famously dated when she was young. How old she was? She like 15 or
I mean, she
16,
was like, yeah, 15, 16 years old.
and he was like already in his early 20s, right?
Yeah, it might have been like 20 or 21, maybe 22.
And so this, as Brandy tells the story, Wanye calls her home just to basically say, like, I like your stuff. And the mom, who is her manager, Brandy's mom, is excited because it's like, oh, Wanye's famous and he's interested in your music. That's a great connection to have. While maybe being a little bit naive as to probably the real reason that Wanye made that phone call.
I mean, and
It's
maybe as much as I hate to give anybody the benefit of the doubt in a situation like that, maybe he initially did call to just be like, "Hey, I like your music," and at some point early on, he was like, "Oh, like you know, she's fangirling me like that. I'm gonna take
mm-hmm,
advantage."
mm-hmm. And so that
Maybe.
is a I would say she's probably the angriest at that story. And I think the thing that makes her the angriest is he is his side of the story, his reason for doing certain things, or him excusing himself about the who, the what, the when, and the why.
Right.
Um and yeah, like that's a tough part of the story to listen to, because again, I think I mentioned this to you in a past episode. I was like, we lived that.
Yeah.
How did we feel about it in that time? Like, we knew it was wrong, but the entire public knew the age difference, and they were like, I don't remember there being a real negative thing about that relationship at that time.
Right. So here's how I remember it. Um, I don't recall Brandy and Wanye going public dating until Brandy's second album was out, at which point she was 18.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the way that they tried to spin it is that they were admirers of one another, they were fans, they worked together, like all this stuff happened. And then all of a sudden Brandy's legal and they're a couple.
I just feel like there were so many pictures of them before that, though,
Right,
like,
but it was
together.
always kind of like, oh, they're friend. Like it was a more innocent time, and maybe I was naive, and certainly I was like, this looks weird.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you also take what they're saying at face value, and they did not go public about dating until later in the game. And now obviously, I mean, it was incredibly inappropriate, and she was very clearly taken advantage of. Like, I hate being this person, but I'm also like, what was mom thinking, like allowing that situation to
Right,
happen? Right,
right. Like, she seemed to be in favor of it because this helps Brandy's connections. But at
right,
the same time, I'm like, you don't see the problem with this conversation happening, and maybe I'm sure moms has regrets about it, yeah,
right.
now, but who does not get nearly enough crap for this kind of thing?
Who's that?
Jerry Seinfeld.
I mean, I'm not a Jerry Seinfeld person, so like I don't fully know what the story is there. I do know that I guess it's his wife. I know that there is a significant age difference.
He was 38,
Uh-huh.
she was 17.
What?
Yes. And they dated for, I guess, 4 years the is what the internet tells me.
Yikes.
And so this is what I'm saying is that relationship. And now Jerry Seinfeld is like royalty, right? Like, nobody gives him any sort of crap for that. And it is, that's kind of the one, that's the one of the ones where I'm like, this is where the world and the public and celebrities just the rules are so different for certain people. Um, all right, this is not a Jerry Seinfeld podcast.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
always like to point that out because people seem to believe that he can do no wrong, and I'm like, not to me.
Yeah, I'm reading this shit now. I mean, yeah.
I like Martin better, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of reasons I don't really mess with Seinfeld like that. Um,
like his homie Michael Richards.
yeah, and I mean, Jerry Seinfeld has turned out for other reasons to not really be like the best person. So, he can screw off.
So I guess some of the other pieces of this book that I found interesting, and she's again, this is her story. It's a memoir, so she's telling her truth. The eating disorder stuff was pretty heartbreaking, man.
Mm. Yeah,
Like that was tough because she was such a young person, and she was doing both careers, acting and music, and she was doing a few little modeling gigs, and
it's so much pressure. She was on TV, she was making music, she was modeling, she was in movies. Like as a teenager to be doing all that stuff is bananas.
were you a Moesha fan?
I mean, I didn't really have a TV during that time, so I've only watched a handful of episodes of Moesha. So
She did not. So she starts Moesha, but that is not her first television
no,
show.
yeah, I remember watching Thea back
Yeah.
in the day. I probably watched more episodes of Thea than I watched of Moesha.
And she did not have great things to say about Thea.
Nah.
She said that Thea was really hard on her as a first-time actress.
Right.
And I can sort of see why, if you think about it. I now have not heard Thea's point of view of this, but Thea Vidal, like, I just remember she was like the new thing, the new female comic who was going to like be the next big thing. And then she had the TV show for a couple years, and it didn't really, it didn't. I don't
Nothing
remember
came of
anything
it.
coming out of it.
Mm-mm.
And so, from her perspective, if she knew kind of the window that she had to become as big as humanly possible, and she thinks this little singer is kind of screwing up her thing here, I could see how, maybe she's a little frustrated about that process. But
Sure.
still, like, Brandy's like a little kid, and
Right. You're working with
she
kids.
feels the heat. Yeah.
Yeah. And Thea might have been the first Black female comic to have a show developed around her, and that came, I'm sure that was a result of like Martin being successful and all that stuff. And I mean, it sounds like she really didn't handle that well at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's still show business, man.
yeah, and it kind of, I
Creates
mean,
monsters.
it seems like that experience really is what prevented her career from going any further, because that was kind of the pinnacle for her.
I will remind some folks who may know this, but I think it's the mid 2000s. There's a pro wrestler named Shelton Benjamin, and actually he's still around. He's like in his 50s, and this dude is still athletic as all hell. And they were trying to branch out his character because he's kind of like a soft-spoken dude, and he's not this like super charismatic guy. So what they did was they created his pretend mama, and she would come and kind of like be a manager, but she would be like in the front row, and then she may have even came to ringside. But like
that
that,
is
like it was
hilarious.
like his mom's was like, in charge of him, like kind of, like a momager or whatever.
Sure.
And Thea Vidal played Shelton Benjamin's mama.
Wow.
That's what I
mean,
remember. Of
how the mighty have fallen, I guess. I don't know. That's weird.
It was not a good character. It was not a good time.
Right.
All right. So would you advise fans of music memoirs to pick this thing up and check it out?
It was a good read. It was breezy.
Better than Teddy Riley's book.
Oh God. I mean, that's a low bar, man. Um, I did one thing I did find interesting was I read Brandy's book, Teddy's book, and Arsenio's book all around the same time, and
Hmm.
like the one thing all three books had in common, Michael.
Yep,
you
absolutely.
know,
Yeah, she had the little piece about listening in to some of the Invincible stuff because
right,
Rodney was working with her and Michael at the same time.
right, right.
And she's even in the background singing harmonies or something on Invincible, right?
Yeah, she's on Invincible. He's on Full Moon.
What song is he on?
There's a song called "It's Not Worth It."
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I have to go
yeah,
back and check that out.
yeah,
And I know she's on Late Registration, which was
yeah.
kind of like maybe a trade-off for Kanye doing stuff on her Aphrodisiac album, I
Right.
believe.
Yeah,
But she did not have good things to say about Kanye.
she did not.
And I kind of wonder if she thought about that at the time or if it now it's just easy to pile on Kanye because he's such a dick.
I mean, maybe it's a little of both, but also like her brother has beef with Kanye.
Yeah,
So,
true.
you
Yeah,
know,
true. Yeah, real
yeah,
beef with Kanye.
I hit it first.
Yeah, that's the next time I see you, it's gonna be an ICU kind of beef.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
All right, so now let's transition over to her discography a little bit.
Mm,
Um, so her album when she's a teenager, the self-titled 1994 album, 4 times platinum in the U.S. First single, as far as I remember, was "I Want to Be Down."
that was the first single.
Um, and listening back, it is the album of a teenager. It is exactly what a teenage young girl's album kind of sounded. Now, I think they even kind of wanted to make her sound younger than she actually was. I think she
Mm,
even mentions this in the book. Like they wanted her to like be closer to 13 than 15 or whatever, just by the what they thought that they could sell. But then 1998, Never Say Never, 5 times platinum, featuring The Boy's Mind, which is a giant single. We'll talk a
huge.
little bit more about that in our top 5. Um, I think this is her best album.
I mean, front to back, probably.
It is older than the Young Girl album. It is kind of like a teenager kind of becoming a young woman
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
an
thing.
older teenager kind of album.
And because of the distinctive sound and the production with Rodney Jerkins, it sounds like fresh. It
Hmm.
sounds cool. It's like, oh, Brandy's kind of got a little edge to her
Edge
a
to
little
her.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I, it was funny because part of the Boy's Mind thing that we were talking about is Monica's label decided that this duet was going to be on both of their albums.
Right.
And they were going to title Monica's album after this song. So I think Brandy, and rightfully so, probably felt a certain way about that.
I mean, at the end of the day, Brandy's album sold better
Yeah.
and is honestly a
It
better
was
record.
better.
Right. Yeah, it's a better record. I mean, Monica, as talented as she is, I don't think she's ever surpassed her first album from a
Yeah.
quality standpoint. So,
Yeah. And that album was like the opposite of like the 15-year-old trying to be 13.
right.
This was like a
15-year-old
15-year-old
trying to be 30.
right.
Right.
Uh,
Yes,
full
exactly.
Full Moon comes out in 2002, and she's chasing a little bit of Never Say Never. She's a little bit older. She's dealing with, some older, some younger woman things, but older than a teenager things like heartbreak and such. I listening back, this album, it was almost like Never Say Never Part 2, but it was like you're about 2 years too late with this thing.
Right.
That's kind of how I felt when I was listening, because it's 4 years later, and it sort of sounds almost too similar, I think.
It does sound very similar. It's funny. The Brandy album that I do come back to most regularly is probably Full Moon. I think the
Mhm.
good songs on it are better than the good songs on Never Say Never. but Never Say Never is a more consistent record. And the way that Never Say Never sounded was very much like it was a new sound at the time.
Aphrodisiac in 2004.
And
Lead single is with Kanye. It's okay. There are songs that I like on this album, but listening all the way through, I was actually pretty bored.
I
And
mean,
I think that's human as well. Like there's some stuff that I really remember and I really like, and then there's some stuff I was like, this sounds all the same. Like there's no
yeah.
real differentiation in any of these songs.
Yeah, I remember being really disappointed by Aphrodisiac. Because it's like, oh, Timbaland's at like the top of his game right now.
Yeah.
I did find it weird that Aaliyah passes away and then all of a sudden like Brandy and Timbaland are doing a record together. But yeah, it was kind of a boring record. Like there's a couple of good songs on it. Actually, I think one of the songs made my top 5, if I'm reading correctly. But yeah, it's just I don't think they were necessarily like the best match.
And then Human comes out in 2008. So she's, she is getting closer to her 30s at this point. And there are a couple of songs on this album that I do like, but now she's testing, different sounds and different producers, and I'm not sure she's got the greatest chemistry with a lot of these folks.
Well, I mean, I think, if I remember the book properly, she had started the album working with like different people. Like Frank Ocean is on that album. He wrote a couple of songs and
Bruno
like, different
supposedly
people
too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then like halfway through, the label was like, "Oh, we think you need to call Rodney again."
Yeah, because they didn't hear a hit.
Right.
They're like, "How are we going to sell this thing?"
Right.
So then 2/11, which signifies the date that Whitney Houston passed away, is 2012. Interesting choice, Chris Brown, lead single.
Yeah, I was not.
Was Chris Brown at that time? I'm trying to remember the time in which we were just like out completely on Chris Brown after the Rihanna stuff.
It was post Rihanna.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, Rihanna was 2010.
So yeah, if you put that man's name on a song, it's an easy way for me to skip that song. I could not get through this album.
There's songs I like on that album. I don't know that I've listened to it completely through in a long time, but even like yesterday, I was on my way out and a song from that album came up on random, and I was like, "This is a banger." So there's some good stuff on there.
It's like too much hip hop production. I think like too much hip hop styled production,
right?
And it may just be. It feels like she is trying to stay hip.
Yeah.
And it's just not hip anymore. She's just, she's in her mid 30s or something at this point. And it's kind of like, maybe her sound hadn't necessarily grown the way that I wanted to. But again, like I don't even remember this album coming out.
2020 they were chasing hits.
Yeah, 2020 was B7, and that's the last album that she's done. She's got some interesting people on this album, but again, kind of boring to me.
I didn't like it.
Daniel Caesar's on it, and I like Daniel Caesar. Just she's a 40-year-old woman at this point, and and so it's often really hard for artists as they grow to kind of figure out what the right sound is for the age and where your audience is.
Right.
Okay, so now we just went through all of those albums. So I have a new game for us called
Oh boy,
Tears. I've put the Tears and not TEAR.
All right, TIER, not TIER. Okay, all right.
So I've put them in must listen, mid, and for stands only. What would you put in the must listen group for Brandy's albums?
Brandy's one of those artists who I think is like greatest hitsable, meaning that you'd be perfectly fine not owning a single studio album by this artist and getting like the best of Brandy, like I have over there. I would say the closest thing she has to anything that's like indispensable would be Never Say Never.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
Yeah.
What is your what would be the second album that you think is after that?
It would be Full Moon.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I think I'll put both of those in must listen just because it's kind of like, her top 2 records.
Hmm.
Where would you put Aphrodisiac and Human?
I mean, I'd probably rank them like Never Say Never, Full Moon, Human. Nah, I'd probably put Aphrodisiac third, Human fourth.
So they're kind of in like that mid tier.
Yeah.
And then we have her self-titled debut,
which is which is a good record, but I mean, as a 50-year-old person, it feels a little awkward to be listening to some of that now.
Yes, it does. But I think, the good stuff is very memorable. Like that's all from, high school time frame or late high school, early college time frame for us.
Right.
And then, so I think I would put it in mid, but I would put it at the end of the mid tier.
Okay.
Would you put 211 or B7 in the mid tier? Or would you leave it for the last tier?
211 would be in the mid tier. B7, okay. I remember buying that album and being super disappointed. Okay. So that is for me the 4 stands only record.
Okay, so for your Brandy discography, must listens: Never Say Never, 1998, Full Moon, 2002. For the mid tier, Aphrodisiac, 2004, Human, 2008, Brandy's self-titled debut, 1994, and 211 from 2012, and 4 stands only, B7.
Yeah.
Okay, now we started this game last episode on the Luther episode. It is called Jammin' Lewis or La Face. Mm-hmm. And the idea is, if you could have either of those 2 duos, classic duos, produce a full album of said artist in their prime, which production duo would you choose?
Well, I mean, Brandy did work with Babyface.
She did.
So there's that. I think Jammin' Lewis would have brought some edgier stuff out of her. The trouble that I have with letting Babyface produce your whole album is that if Babyface does your whole record, like half the album is going to sound exactly the same. But you may get some good songs.
You may also get a lot of radio play from
right. Oh
yeah, 2 of those songs.
100%. Because Babyface was running things back then. Yeah. But Jam and Lewis have historically made more interesting records. So I do think that if they got with Brandy, they would make something that sounded, pretty cool and maybe a little bit different. Whereas, if she got with Prime, if after Sitting Up in My Room, she went and she did a whole album of Babyface, it would have been like nonstop hits out the park.
What would have been interesting, because I think Never Say Never, I think the Ronnie Jerkins lean is a little bit more closer to what Jam and Lewis would have done with her. But the Babyface touch on Sitting Up in My Room, like I would imagine, like if you're asking people, what song do you remember most about Brandy? Sitting Up in My Room, or what about us? That probably say Sit Up in My Room, because that thing was on the radio all the time.
All the time, yeah.
So I think this is a good one. I think for my ears, I would lean towards what you said, because I think Never Say Never is my favorite album of hers for a specific reason.
Sure.
What would sell the most? La Face, probably, if they did, a version of Sitting Up in My Room for an 18-year-old Brandy or a 22-year-old Brandy, I think it probably would have been a couple of giant songs there. So
yeah, 100%.
Okay, so we wanted to do this for the book, but we also wanted to show Brandy some love, because we don't have a specific 50 for 50 episode album on the Brandy album,
right?
But she did make some good songs, and we'll talk about our favorites in the top 5. So check out the next episode after this one, and we will talk about our favorite Brandy song. So for Mike, I'm Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.